Yeah. Mm, Today, I just want to discuss about art. I mean, not art in the sense of what art do I like, but art in the sense what is meant, what is art and what ancient thought of art and how it evolved through the time and how we came, mm, we pursue, like how we came to pursue art the way it is now. So the main purpose of taking this topic was I find it very odd whether it is a product of our education system or something. Like most people consider art to be whatever they like or whatever they relate with. Um, for example, you see some people liking love stories and some people not liking love stories in movies, completely based on what they like whatever they they think, whatever they want to see in that movie rather than inspiring from that movie. Uh, Another example would be there are mm, it is basically if you ask someone like what is your opinion on movie or any other art, if they just rather than saying their opinion like what do they think the art is telling, they say whether they like it or not. Liking, we like a lot of things that are not good and that are kind of bad or evil, but that uh, when we ask the question like what do you uh, what is your opinion on art or something, we should be able to tell like what is the thing that the art is telling and whether we agree with that or not, rather than telling that what we like about that uh, art or movie. So with this premises, we will start like what do you mean by art? Like the ancient, you like when you go to Greeks or any other ancient civilizations, Chinese, Indian, or Greek civilizations, art is something participatory. Means art is not for individuals; it is always for the society. What do I mean by that? Their definition of art would be taking thing or an object that already has a place in the society and giving it meaning. Whether the place in the society has no, whether the thing that is in the society has inherent meaning or not is not what you call is not taken into account. For example, I'll tell you an example. Let's take wood. We take wood and we convert it into a chair. The chair has an identity. The chair has specific characteristics, but the wood doesn't have any characteristics. Wood is just wood. Wood can be anything. And this chair can be integrated into a dining table. Here, the chair become the component and the dining table become the art. Whereas in the first case, the wood is just a component and the chair become the art. Now, initially the wood has no meaning, but it was given meaning by a carpenter as a chair. And the chair, which already has a meaning, is given an higher meaning through through its integration into the dining table. So in this way, the art is always participatory, means it should contribute to the society, means it should give a direction to the society. It cannot be independent or something detached from the society. It should have some component and it should give a direction. Like for example, everyone agrees that the dining table is a complex art than the chair, right? And the chair is a complex art than the wood. So there should be a hierarchy. It should it should give a direction in which the hierarchy is growing. Like, for example, I'll show you the what you call Baptiste in Florence. Like it's one of the finest example. I'll just try to share. Yeah, yeah. Here you can see, right? I think I downloaded a photo. Let's see. Yeah, this is the Baptist tree of Florence. Here you can see clearly describing there are concentric circles around the center. The center represents like some very higher form, like God or higher moral values, or like that. The concentric circles represent the stages, means the hierarchy of beings who follow certain set of morals. Here you see Jesus, right? Here you can see monsters or like kind of creatures that live at the periphery of the society. Here you see angels that serve the God. You see Jesus connecting these creatures in the periphery of the society, humans and kind of scholars here, I guess, and connecting them to the angels means bringing them closer to the God. Jesus is giving direction to the God. And also you see the faces of these paintings, right? They're all showing their mm, body, means showing their faces to us rather than like which is not in the case of the real world. But here everything has a direction. Like everything is looking towards us, like looking toward the subject. And here you see Jesus playing an important role of bringing these creatures to a higher form, which is closer to God. So this mosaic has a definite purpose. You cannot say like this is some random thing or some random events happening, because everything is there for some serving a purpose, and also it serves purpose in a direction. It gives us a direction where we should be going, rather than like um what 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 we think is irrelevant in this kind of means it is not a reflection of us, it is a reflection of the process. Like it is a reflection of the process of going from the lower form of a being to a higher form of being. And you can see in many paintings, it's just not limited to this painting. I have shown it because it's serves a perfect example. You can see in Byzantium Empire or the Roman Empire, the art was always seen as something that is integrative, means something that will bring people closer. For example, the Colosseum that was constructed, it is, though it is constructed by private individuals, it is a public ground, means anyone can go and see. Similarly, the Pantheon that was constructed, it was constructed by Agrippa. Agrippa is one of Augustus' generals, who is a private citizen, but he contributed it to the society. And he made it in the artistic form. It's not like some kind of hostel or something like that. He wanted to inspire the people, which is exactly reverse in the modern world, where in modern world you see rich people buying um, great paintings, are constructing their houses in a very artistic way. You don't see public goods constructed in artistic way, which goes all the way up to Harappan civilization. See, Harappan civilization is has lots of art, but it was constructed in the interest of public. Means uh, public buildings were constructed, and the art was inscribed on that public instructions. And you see this tradition continues on the temples as well. When temple, see, in Harappa, during Harappa time there were no temples, and during Vedic period also there was no temples. And temples were like fourth century BC. Around that time the temples were constructed, and you can see clearly the temples were seen as some kind of congregational space And the architecture on the temple is also kind of telling a story or some form of, it's kind of story only. It's kind of story, and that story consists some direction, some form of for example, some temples have an inscription of how Ramayana occurred. Like, it is a story of God. So similarly, the churches in the Byzantium era also has very specific purpose. For example, you see when I'll show you one thing. Uh, I think it was, he's one of the greatest emperor, like the Belisarius. Justinian. Emperor Justinian was the emperor who united the Western Roman Empire with the Eastern Roman Empire. Justinian. Justinian emperor. Yeah. Justinian, after conquering there are like three generals with Justinian. One was Belisarius, Narcissus, and Mundus. These are the three generals that helped mm, what you call Justinian in conquering the Western Rome, which was in the control of Visigoths, Lombards during like 6th century AD. Like when he want to publish his like when he want to inscribe his victories, look what he have made it to be. He didn't inscribe like we have killed this many people or we have conquered this many things. See how it looks. It looks very uh, Christian kind of thing. Like like as if he is bringing civilization, like Jesus brought civilization to the Western Roman Empire. They were seen as saints rather than soldiers. See, you see soldiers here, but this is Belisarius, as this was Narcissus, and this was Mundus. And you see most of the people, these are the priests, I guess. Like these are not generals. This was Justinian. You see, they don't want to project themselves as great soldiers or great saints, but they want to project themselves as someone who bring those people closer to this kind of divinity or higher form of life, because they don't want to be seen as strong leaders, but they want to be seen as some moral authority. It's not they are the subject should not follow them because they are strong. The subject should follow them because they are giving them direction to follow a higher way of life. But when you go to some like the Scythians or the Turks who conquered, you see them explicitly telling how strong they were. That is the difference between the art Byzantium or the civilized people followed and the art that semi-barbarians or barbarian tribes followed. So you can see how art act as a direction for the integration of the society in the ancient times, rather than art being very personal thing. Like art is not something what I like. Art is something that give direction to the society. That is always in the minds of the ancient people. Ancient in the sense people before Renaissance. It's all the history that medieval history and everything. It's not specific to Rome or Rome or like Western Europe, but it was general in all the civilizations. For example, most of the inscriptions, like the great sculptural things, were uh, done on temples. They are not done on the palaces of the kings. If you see Vijayanagara Palace, I don't think you see Hampi, right? Like Hampi was so good in architecture. You don't see that much architecture in the case of um, you don't see that much architecture in the case of the palace of the Vijayanagara kings. Or for example, any of the kings that lived in Roman time or any civilization, for example, the Persian civilization or the Indian Chinese. Chinese, it's difficult. It's kind of like the god and the emperor are the same. So it will be the palaces will be so huge and very artistic. And you see in the Indian or Persian or Roman civilizations, the palaces of the kings are not as good as the temples they construct, or for example, the public constructions they do. That is because they know they are not higher than the god. Most of the kings has those that notation that they are not the supreme being. The supreme being lives above him, and the people should direct what their life towards that being rather than themselves. So you see, Cholas construct a grandiose Brihadeshwara temple, but their palaces were not so big. I mean, not so artistic. But when it comes to Turkish conquerors, you see their palaces are big. You see Tipu Sultan Palace. You don't see his religious constructions to be as good as Tipu Sultan Palace. That's the difference that I say that I say when art is seen from the civilized people, art seen from the barbarians. Slowly, I guess, we are turning more into barbarians because we are bringing art. We are making art personal rather than making it into a public good. So, but so this was the state of the art up to Renaissance. Like what when Renaissance came, see, Renaissance is not just industrialization and Renaissance go in parallel, but Renaissance, I don't think industrialization is a process of is a product from Renaissance. I think it is reverse only. For example, let's say it's industrialization. The Indian historian Irfan Habib thinks that industrialization is just uh, uh, mm, what you call is it bringing labor into a kind of what you call the pipeline way of manufacturing or doing work. But that's not the case. Like the European standard of I think he's defining colonial standard of industrialization, where the European standard of industrialization is applying chemical energy to do physical labor. For example, gunpowder. Gunpowder is used to throw projectiles, which before the invention of gunpowder, we use arrows and stones, which use physical strength. So replacing physical strength with chemical energy is what that pushed the industrialization. It started, I think the first gunpowder was invented by Mongols in 1273 AD during the invasion of Japan. I may be wrong about the date, but during the invasion of Japan only, they have invented this gunpowder and slowly traveled to Europe. And by the 13th, by the time like 1300s, it was already a standard technology in Europe. Like they are using, I think it was Henry who used first, I think, yeah, first artillery, tied his horses with guns and used it to attack Italy. I think it was French King Henry. Yeah, yeah. Not going off topic. Coming to the topic, like mm, the industrialization process kind of reduced the what you call magical nature of the divinity and made humans possible to do things that the ancient thoughts only God can do. So the artist has to integrate these two things. Now the gap between, at least in his mind, in dealing with the physical world, the gap between God and human is reducing, and he has to find a way to integrate those two things. I'll give you another example where in ancient scriptures, right, you don't see angels represented as any kind of human forms. They are of different forms, right? Even the mosaic, you see angels represented in human form. That's kind of kind of Renaissance thought, new thought. But in ancient scriptures, angels were never represented as human form. They are energy forms. But when you come to in the 12th and 13th century, the angels definitely take a human form with wings. Means some kind of human with strength, or you can say some kind of special human beings. They are humans, but they are on top of other human beings. So like that. So this is the integration that is happening. So rather than moving humans towards the divinity, they are bringing divinity close to humanity. And the thing they missed was basically humans have both good and evil in them, whereas divinity doesn't have an evil. It is divinity in its own definition is pure good. That's why we want to move towards it. So by bringing divinity to what's the human, you are diluting it basically, diluting the nature of the being called divinity. Divinity. Yeah. So I'll give you a few examples to show you how this kind of movement towards human thing called yeah, not this Raphael. Yeah, this was by John Van Eyck. You see the physical representation of humans, which is not very far from what we see in the physical world. Like he is representing the physical world as it is, but you cannot. There is no direction to the. There is direction if people means maybe I'm not finding it, but there is no clear direction here. You see, it is just a frame that is taken from the life of two people, and it includes a lot of things, their home, their everything, but it doesn't give a direction of what they are going. It is static in time. It's just a frame, and we can deduce something from frame, but it was limited. It has no direction. Means that's what I'm saying. In this case, the art will become subjective. It depends on what the person is seeing rather than like what the art is directing towards. That you may say like what is wrong with depicting human life? At initial stages, it doesn't seem to be bad, and it is not very useful as the divine art, which is in the case of like John Van Eyck and Raphael. Raphael has also, see, this is the thing that I'm talking about, bringing humanity close to divinity, close to humanity. I think it was Socrates. This is not the thing. It was Socrates painting, I guess. I guess I'll show it. John Van Eyck, Raphael. Yeah, this image of, I think it was baby Jesus, I guess. Yeah, you see the physical aspect, right? You bring people kind of close to humanity, which might be the thing that actually happened, or close to the thing that is actually happened, but it is just a capturing frame. It doesn't have any meaning. The art doesn't have any meaning. It is not different from a photo. That's what I'm saying. And see, and when people start making this type of art, you see they are so plain and they have no meaning. But the artists want to put meaning into it. Meaning can be put meaning can be brought to an art if it has some kind of deviation from the normal things. Okay, if you give some expression, if it expresses something, then you can bring some direction to it. Now there are two paths that it can take. It can take either showing the good part or the showing only good part is an incomplete art because it doesn't represent the evil this thing of um, human side. That's why some arts feel incomplete because they are representing only one part of human being, and some can relate it to it in sometimes, but not always. It is not an inspiration; it is just a reflection of what you are. This can be seen in the lifetime of an artist itself. For example, one of the greatest artists, Michelangelo. I'll show you. Wait, his Pietas. Uh, this is the Pieta of Mary carrying the dead body of Jesus. See, here you can see this sculpture represent mostly means it want to show the pain of Mother Mary carrying his son's dead body, and this is a personal relation between Mary and Jesus, and how Mary is feeling towards Jesus at this time. Now, let's look at the. This is the Pieta of Florence, I guess. This is the Pieta that he he made during his like last stages of his life. You can see, right? The body of the Jesus is kind of looks like a giant, and the characters beside him are kind of abnormal. I think here it is God who is lifting Jesus. It was Mary. Yeah, you can see that the arm, the twisted arm, and the disproportionate, and all the proportionality of the body is missing. This was done in order to bring meaning to the sculpture, in order to emphasize that the Jesus is different from other people. So here it is more of a physical aspect rather than the meaning. Whereas you see in here, there is the meaning associated with it. Here we know it is not abnormal. This is a connection between the two worlds. This is doing this connection between the two worlds. Here also, he could have represented the connection, but he represented it through physicality. You see, you know what I'm talking about. Like you wanna, I guess you understand what I'm talking about. Like here, he want to create that Jesus is special by making him physically different from other people. There, it is more of a philosophical thing. Here, they are interested in Jesus as a person. There, they are interested in Jesus as someone who brings change. He's an idea, more of less. Yeah, and also like this kind of devolving into the physical aspect is called mannerism, and this was acknowledged by most of the artists. But what they find it difficult to uh, explain is this. This was Archimboldo's art, where in order to produce the uniqueness in his art, he goes full on kind of what you call crazy is not the good word, but kind of mm, kind of to bring uniqueness to it, he goes more and more absurd into his painting. Like here, you can see a human face formed out of vegetables, which is a kind of derangement. Means he is bringing everything into the physical world, and also like yeah, here you can see the painting. Like this is the painting of an infant Jesus, where you can see the disproportionate proportions of the child, which is kind of emphasizing that he is different from others. Uh, there was another name, yeah. This one you see, Here, this was a painting by El Greco, and you can see the most important aspect here. Jesus curing the blind is occurring as one of the incident. That's it. There is no importance to this situation. It is uh, the artist want to represent the act as one of the act that is happening in that time. That's it. There is no speciality to that act. There is no meaning to that act. There is no direction to that act. Maybe this is how the act happened, but that's not the purpose of the artist. The artist purpose was to not as I said, like this is the moment of the ancient meaning of art, giving direction or giving purpose to art existing for itself. Means there is no purpose for art. Yeah. So this development of art from the divine aspects of it to the physical aspects of it is a is a product of these ideas of Renaissance and people moving away from God to the physical world. Like you can see that in almost all the civilizations. For example, in scriptures, the physical description of Shiva is that he has very white skin and his neck is very is black because he swallowed the poison. And Lakshmi, goddess Lakshmi, was black. The representation, the skin color of goddess Lakshmi was black, but you don't see that in the modern art. The modern art, you always see Shiva as god with dark skin and Lakshmi as goddess with white skin. The one of the name of Shiva was Sri Kantudu. Means Sri means black. Sri is also the name of Lakshmi. You understand? Like the ancient and the scriptures have a definite idea like what they look like. But you see reverse here, like the when you see the paintings of the Lakshmi, you see her with white skin, whereas the paintings of the Shiva, you see him with like kind of blue or black skin, because the ancient doesn't consider wealth to be a great thing. Wealth is something that comes from the universe that is sure. So, but you see, when you see the evolution of the Indian society, I don't know the reason, but during the Kalidasa time itself, there is a great obsession towards white skin in Indians. You can see that in the Kalidasa poems as well, like how the white slaves from the Roman Empire were given more importance than the queens of the kings, which made the queens jealous. There is a history to it, like why, uh, like the history of the Indian kings uh, preferring white-skinned Roman slaves over the native Indian queens. So this kind of what you call most of the people say the white skin is because of the prejudice of the Europeans. It's not the case. It was very ancient thing, but we don't know like how it got started. There are many theories, but I don't think I'm not convinced by a lot of things. So it was there during the Kalidasa time that I can tell for pretty sure. So we started representing the gods in our own image rather than what they exist to be in the scriptures. So that's why you see the paintings of Lord Shiva with black skin, with black or blue skin, and Lakshmi with goddess Lakshmi with white skin. So this is the effect of humanity. Like this is the product of bringing God closer to humans rather than keeping him as a idea, like divinity as an idea. You bring him close to humans, thereby diluting the idea of God, and this will be reflected in art. This will go into much sinister way in the 20th century art or the 21st century art. I mean, I don't have to like they are very very creepy and kind of it's very bad. The art is very bad. Like I don't want to. show them in a video. Like you can check out it. Like it will go into more into physical acts, where you see the artists, the modern artists like Maria Abramovich. Uh, it's it's just like you just have to see that art to understand like how kind of absurd the art is and how disgusting the art has become. Like it's now it is not even to it is not even to a person. It's just like they're putting the perversions of the human mind onto art and telling that this is the art. And now they are moving it towards the opposite side rather than having a direction towards good. They're keeping the direction of the art towards evil only, kind of evil practices. The art is also looks very satanic kind of thing, rich and also very ritualistic. The reason that I have gone through all this kind of all this historical process is I have seen in modern like people telling that like art is whatever I like, which is like whatever you like has lot of evil in it. Like people have this notion that like I'm the good person. People are always a combination of both good and evil. When you want to represent a person or his likings, it involves both good and evil. So whatever the art, whatever thing that they like is both good and evil. I'm not saying bad. I'm not saying it's a choice. Like it's an actual evil thing. Evil thing that everyone agrees that it is an evil thing. It's not like the opinion, my opinion, or something like that. I think Carl Jung, and there are many philosophers who support this. It's not support like it's almost proven, but it's like things that people don't want to speak. That the psychologist Carl Jung or the philosopher Nietzsche, Dostoevsky, and many other existentialists, for example, Kierkegaard, Soren Kierkegaard, they all come to the same conclusion that if you move away from the divine world and come to more physical world, we will be emphasizing more evil rather than good. Because a person is both good and evil, but as a group, people always gravitate towards evil. That I am not. I am not very. It's like I think it will take another. It will take very long time to explain why that's the case. But there is a historical trend where people congregate and um, want to project every one of their needs. Let's say there is a group of people, and we are given like we give a like write your list of 10 things that you want in the society, and we will aggregate them and find the and we will give top three of them to everyone. The top three will definitely be the evil things that everyone wants, not the good things, which was proven many times. For example, in schools we were taught like Renaissance is a very good thing that happened to the world or the Europeans, which brought them from the dark ages into the industrial world. And what they failed to explain was after Renaissance there are witch burnings, but they want to push that witch burnings to dark ages, but that's not the case. The dark ages is a specific age where black plague hits Europe, and it kills almost like half, I guess, very large population. That's why it is called dark age, not because of its cultural ignorance or like intellectual ignorance. But when Renaissance start, you see this initial stages there are witch burnings, which is like a huge phenomenon in Europe. And after there is progress, and then they'll say that when after that they say there is progress. But when we mention the French Revolution, they say this is an abnormality. And then Napoleonic Wars, they say it's an abnormality. And the entire 20th century, World War One, World War Two, and the wars that happened, the nuclear bomb that was created, they say entire thing was an abnormality. How can we erase a century of history and say that Renaissance is good for humans as a whole? So when we try to explain these abnormalities, you will come to understand why art will also follow the same path. Just like the humans, when they were given industrial machines, they constructed weapons of mass destruction to kill humanity. Similarly, when we give art or artist or the society freedom to do, no, no, it's not freedom. Um, I have to frame this in, yeah, when you allow the society and we put a values telling that God, humans will be moving closer to God, and the artist should represent humanity in such a way that it encompasses the accomplishment of the uh, humans. Then it is eventuality they will start making the evil things that the humans do also as a direction that we can go. Just like the weapons, these kind of characteristics will also be encouraged. Now coming to the modern world, the reason that I am saying this was I see this trend was already there in America and Europe. Like they are lost cause. The art was like one of the there is nothing artistic about European or American art. Like I just don't want to. But when it comes to the Indian context, I want to talk because most of the art in India is kind of sidelined. All the kind of poetry or paintings or sculptures, it was sidelined. The only art that is kind of relevant is now movies. Now there is this notion that the previous generation always considers movies to be some kind of cheap things, or there is always this notion that in India or in our states that it's like only useless people watch movies. There is this notion, but I don't think it is that case. That movies offer an artist to express as art, but just as there was a large effect of this industrialization and the kind of bringing humanity at the center, this also affected the art in the movies. But there are few examples where it is not the case, like where the good art is produced, where they don't evolve into these kind of things. And there are two trends that I noticed. Like if you look at the movies, uh, uh, there is particularly one kind of industry. It's Malayalam industry where these kind of movies were made. Where I've seen a lot of people talking about great about Malayalam industry, telling that like this is an artistic movie and they are making very great movies. But I don't find it to be that case because um, it is means the art is never the art that that the Malayalam movies were producing were never of the will never have a direction. It is what our physical world represents. That's just like Van Eyck and El Greco. They represent the physical. They want to represent the physical world, but kind of in an absurd way, and want to export that as an art, as a good art, for that matter, uh, to the world. Because we are in this stage of industrialization, or like the kind of post-industrial world that we are. It's India is a very different kind of society. It's not even industrialized. Like it's not a manufacturing industry, it's service-based industry. And you can say some parts of India is post-industrial. You can say Bangalore and Hyderabad, these are post-industrial, doesn't have any manufacturing, great manufacturing centers like Europe or America, or for example, China. We directly came into the service industry. So you see these two societies where one is pre-industrial, one is post-industrial. Post-industrial even urban societies, whereas the pre-industrials are in rural societies. And I'm talking specifically about the post-industrial societies, like the urban societies. They consider Malayalam to be a great art. I It feels like they are falling for the same trap as the Europeans during the industrial age, where they consider themselves to be kind of closer to God and they want to be represented in the art, which at initial stages may look good, but it will eventually devolve into something evil and sinister. Uh, and I heard some people saying that Telugu movies, some few movies are there. For example, the Hanuman movie that they came on January, they call it a propaganda movie. I was like, yeah, the see, artists always have a thought, and he want to put the thought into the his art. But the same people will say Malayalam movies are like kind of great movies, and they don't. Malayalam movies are definition of propaganda movies. It's not even like it's because that's the propaganda you like doesn't make it any less of a propaganda movie. It's still a propaganda movie. So they are basically using the kind of what you call abnormalities in the society, not just abnormal, the trends of the society. They're using the trend of the society and making their movies and calling themselves an artistic movie. Okay, let's say I'll give a perfect definition of an art movie, which is this movie named Shankarabharanam that was released in 1980s, which is not even dubbed into Malayalam. It was released as a Telugu version only in Malayalam and become an industry hit. Now that is the power of the divine art, like the art that have a direction and it gives a direction has the power. My thing was like during that age or during the present age, there is a huge population of the people, huge population who have an appetite for that art. But the artist always push towards this art because this art is very simple to make or kind of easy to sell or they can call the audience kind of backward or kind of what you call mm, kind of all the derogatory terms that will be used for they're called the working class or some kind of people who don't like art movies or some these kind of stories which which is which comes to the point that they consider the artists that are making these movies consider art not to be integrated. They consider it to they target only specific audience, and this only specific audience will see those movies. Like I have seen that in a lot of like my directors who say that these movies are meant for only intellectual people. I was like, then that is not an art, that is a propaganda. If it only meant for some kind of rich class people or this kind of people, then it is not an art. It's pure propaganda. That's the definition of propaganda, where you focus only on certain section of people. Um, the that and another thing that troubled me a lot was uh, there was an interview conducted by Talapati director. Just give me a minute. Yeah, there was an interview conducted by Vetrimaran and Gautam Menon with Maniratnam uh, on the occasion of the 25th anniversary of the movie Dalapati. Dalapati is like Dalapati is such a kind of art where it achieves that intermixing of divine thing with the human. Like for he basically takes the story of Mahabharata and fits it in the society, in the present society, and he changes few things about that movie. Uh, and along with them, there is this actor named I think it was Jitu Joseph, yeah, Basil Joseph, who is an actor in this movie named J J J. I don't understand why he's on the panel, but I can guarantee you that it's not a great movie. It is just a reversal of the role where the strength of the husband is given to the wife and see how the wife will beats the husband and how the husband will react, which is kind of okay movie, which is not which I cannot say is a bad movie, but it's just an okay movie. But he was placed in between these giants, who is like Vetrimaran, Gautam Vasudeva Menon, Maniratnam, which tells us like there is some people who are trying to push this narrative into mainstream, despite the people rejecting it. You see Malayalam movies, uh, they don't. There are very few movies that cross like 100 crores of this kind of thing. Means there is no response from the people, despite there is buzz in the some sections of the society telling that it is a great movie or kind of good artistic movie or something like that. But on the ground level, it was not reflected. But yet it was pushed as a kind of intellectual movie. The same way the industrialized society pushed the art as great art towards working classes. Now, when the art devolved into something absurd, the ruling classes will push this art towards the working classes. This is where the cycle will begin again. When they push that art towards the working classes will take that and they want to integrate it into divinity because they need direction. The lower classes always need direction towards divinity. So they will find some divinity in the things that they are doing. Mm, see, you see, another fine example. What is the example that I can give you? Yeah, one of the thing was the music that was the lyrics that were used in the music during the 90s, 2021. It was all love songs, romantic songs, which is just praising the girl and this kind of things. Now, when you come to the recent time, one of the two good music songs that have great lyrics was Samaja Varagamana uh, and Srivalli song. See, Samaja Varagamana is Tyagaraja Kirtana, which is like 600 or 700 years old, describing both Sri Rama and Sita Devi. Samaja means elephant. Varagamana means Samaja Varagamana has two meanings, which is Samaja means elephant. It is telling that Sri Rama is walking like walking with what do you call pride or I'm not finding that English word. Like he's walking like an elephant, like a great elephant with pride and like the way a good elephant walks. Like and also the Samaja Organa has same meaning. Like they are walking like a song, like a rhythm, which is attributed to Sita Devi, whereas the elephant walking was attributed to Sri Ram. So, even though I don't think most people know that, but you see, it became popular and people accepting it. Because there is a section of the society that wants this, that wants their connection to that. They want the direction. They don't want this physical aspect. And also, Srivalli, if you remember Srivalli and put Sri Rama, it is the same song that was sung by Sri Ramdas, which is like 500 years old song. So, there is a section of the society or a group of people, like basically a group of people or section of the society that want this kind of art, the art that will give direction. But I think it was scrubbed by, I think it was pushed by kind of intellectual class or some kind of, or a group of people who consider the Malayalam movies to be, it's not about just Malayalam movies because most of the Malayalam movies are like that. That's what I'm emphasizing it. To be, they consider it to be a great movie. Now, what is the effect? If it's a great movie, it would have generational effect, right? But you don't see that. Like if you ask them to what is the great movie to 2020, they say a list of movies, two or three. In 2022, they don't even remember that movie. Then why it is a great movie? Shankarabharanam was there in 1980. I'm talking about in 2024. It was 44 years old almost. But still, we are talking because it is a great movie. Now, Samajavaragamana, Srivalli will be sung. Will be sung. I think it will be sung even after 10 years also. Mm. Yeah, I think the rant is no, I think it became a rant on Malayalam movies rather than. Yeah, I just want to establish my position uh, that when I speak about art, I'm not talking about my opinion. I'm talking objectively about art. It's just not what I like. It's just what art is. So, but most people, like most modern people, want to escape that question, telling that art is something which is personal to them. It is like saying if it is personal, it is not an art. It's just something that you like. That is nothing more. Uh, with this, I want to finish it. If I'll get any good thoughts regarding it, I'll continue. And thank you.